Hey, what's up guys? John here. Inflation is out of absolute control. We're entering hyperinflation. I mean this in a very big way. They're now saying that it's costing the average American a whopping $500 per month just to make it. An extra $500 per month just to make it through this inflation. Remember just a couple months ago, they said that number was about $312 per month. Now we're seeing 40% increase above that figure in just 2 months. What I think could happen is I think that we could start to see this continue in this trend where there's just more and more and more inflation, and Jerome Powell responds to it by increasing interest rates, making the debt even more expensive to service, and really making things much more challenging for the everyday American. I think we're way past any situation in which the Fed can recover us from. Look at just the real data points. The average American makes about $35,977 per year, right? And so that's $2,998 per month. So if the average American is now paying this extra $500 per month, you simply take the $500 divided by the $2,998, and you'll see that the average American is now forced to take a pay cut of about 17%. That's how much the average American is really getting impacted right now with rising costs. And what does this look like? Well, this is going to look like a situation in which everyone needs to realize that if this does in fact continue, which I think it's definitely going to, that people need to start raising their prices. Whatever your goals are, if your product you're selling is $1,000, you need to find a way to sell it for $2,000, $2,500. Maybe you bring in extra products or services. Maybe you turn it into a white glove type of experience for your customer. Whatever it is, find a way to increase prices, because money is not going to go as far as people think it's going to go in the next 6 to 12 months. Everyone needs to increase their prices. Everyone needs to increase their value. Everyone needs to really look at where things are headed, because things are going to be heading in a very scary direction. American households face nearly $500 in additional expenses in June due to the impact of decade-high inflation, according to an analysis based on Wednesday's worse-than-expected consumer price index data. Moody's Analytics senior economist Ryan Sweet crunched the numbers after federal data showed inflation jumped to 9.1% in June, outpacing economist expectations and matching rates of increases not seen since November of 1981. The average household coughed up an extra $493 last month, according to Sweet, who calculated the figure based on average U.S. household spending in June compared to what it would have spent in 2018 to 2019 when inflation was just 2.1%. The good news is that the increase in the CPI over the past few months won't be duplicated in July. So we told the Post, energy and other commodity prices have dropped noticeably in July. Further drops are likely. Inflation has continued eroding the buying power of American consumers during its run-up in recent months, with everything from groceries to gas to rent becoming more expensive. Labor shortages, rising commodity prices, and the Russian-Ukraine war are just a few factors contributing to the problem. Now, they say that the good news is the increase in CPI in the last few months won't be duplicated in July. If that is in fact the case, it won't be duplicated in July. Are we saying that we're going to start to see lower energy prices going forward indefinitely? I don't think so. I think we're going to start to see energy prices increase as we begin closing pipelines and closing access to fossil fuels. So this may be a short-lived reduction in CPI, but it's not going to be a long-term solution in the direction that we are headed. The average cost per household in June is up an estimated $460 in May, when inflation was 8.6, from about $296 in February when inflation was below 8%. Food rose 10.4% in June compared to the same month 1 year earlier, while energy prices surged a whopping 41.6%. Shelter costs, excluding energy services, increased 5.5%, while shelter costs, rents have increased over 18%. So rents have increased over 18%. Energy prices have increased much, much greater than the 18%. The ranges were between 40 and 50%. So I don't know how they add up. Shelter costs, excluding energy, increasing at 5.5%. Sweet noted that the wholesale price of gasoline, a leading indicator of where retail prices at the pump are headed, suggests a significant decline in the energy index in July's CPI. Gas prices have steadily fallen over the last several weeks and are now well below the all-time high reached in mid-June. High energy prices were a major reason why the June CPI was so elevated, contributing more than 3 percentage points to the 9.1% annualized increase. Republicans and other critics assert that President Biden's policies, including the stimulus package, have contributed to the inflation crisis. Detractors accuse the administration of failing to take necessary steps to bring prices lower. bolstering domestic energy production. Meanwhile, Biden and his team have laid out a plan, laid out to blame on Russia, Vladimir Putin, arguing that in the invasion of Ukraine has rolled supply chains and resulted in Putin price hikes, right? So they say. Well, now we're seeing bread costing $10 per loaf. It's a sticker shock. $10 a loaf. Bread prices are becoming another source of sticker shock for grocery shoppers during a period of decade-high inflation. According to a report, the price of artisanal bread and other premium options hits $10 per $2 loaf at some grocery stores, turning a pantry staple into a pain point for some consumers already facing financial headaches at $5 a gallon. At Whole Foods in Manhattan, bread prices listed online range from $3.49 for a standard loaf of classic white bread to $6 and beyond for premium offerings. A 1 pound loaf of base cultured nut seed bread costs $10.49. Fairway Market offered similarly steep prices with a bag of King Hawaiian sweet rolls priced at $10.19 and a classic brochet listed at $7.99. Loaves of white bread range from $7.49 depending on the brand size. With that being said, today's paid sponsor is thesolutionevent.com. Thesolutionevent.com. They believe inflation is going to be getting out of control. They believe we're going to be stepping into a whole new economy, and shelter and community is going to be most important. They have a plan and a strategy. They're going to have a free event coming very soon. If you'd like to get more information on that, click the link down below, thesolutionevent.com. The site of $10 per loaf prices like a punch in the nose to shoppers. Mark Cohen, director of retail studies at Columbia University, told Bloomberg prices have reached levels that nobody has seen before. This party's only just getting started. I'm promising you this, because they are going to start bringing out more stimulus down the road. They're already talking about universal basic income programs in 24 different cities and states. They're moving this needle forward. As we start to see more of these programs come out, what's ultimately going to be the net result of this? It's going to be more inflation. There's going to be more money in the system. Then these supply chain problems are likely not going to be going away tomorrow. So I think we're going to just see more money competing over less goods, which is likely just going to keep bringing these prices up. Consumer Price Index data released for June showed the extent of price surge in the bakery aisle. The cost of white bread jumped 10.1% last month compared to the same month 1 year earlier. The price of white bread and other alternatives spiked to even higher, 11.6%. In terms of sheer dollars, the cost of white bread per pound hit $1.69, the highest level on record according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Right, and so we have this 9.1% inflation, and this is just going to continue getting crazier and crazier. That's why I think it's so important right now to be in a business that has pricing power, to be in an industry that you are going to be able to shift with the times. You definitely do not want to be in an industry in which you're not able to increase prices, because if that does continue, if this situation does in fact continue, it's going to get harder and harder to keep the lights on. And so I do believe there's going to be massive opportunities to make a lot of money, but I think that smart money is taking that money and leaving America. A lot of people, look at Ray Dalio, for example. He's making a fortune right now betting on the collapse of the euro and betting on the collapse of Europe. People are just taking money and investing in different areas. I hear a lot of people moving all over the world right now, just looking to take advantage of the high power in this dollar right now, because the dollar is looking very strong in relation to other currencies, but that is going to be a very short-lived type of scenario, I believe, over the next couple of years. I think we're going to really start to see the dollar fall and fall and fall as BRICS and all of these other countries get together and they start bringing together their basket of currencies, which is going to, I think, bring some real problems to the dollar. What do you think about this entire situation? Where do you see the dollar going? Where do you see this inflation situation going? I could bet that we could see inflation costing the average American $1,000 per month. Give it 6 months, give it 8 months. And when you start to, if that in fact does happen, you're talking 30%, 40% real inflation. If you factor in $2,998 per month in actual earnings, if they were to lose $1,000 per month, to be 30% inflation. That would be what they would document if in fact we hit those numbers. I think we are moving in a direction where we're going to see this type of situation happen. Gas prices are likely only going to rise, and we are going to be moving in the direction that I just mentioned, where they're going to be pushing forward stimulus, universal basic incomes. They're going to be pushing this thing forward. As this happens, it's going to get more challenging. But there's still going to be huge opportunities for the smart and savvy investor. This isn't, unfortunate news across the board. There's going to be huge opportunities. If you're in the right industry, if you're in the right business, there's going to be massive opportunities, and with those opportunities, you can make an incredible amount of wealth. So there's going to be big opportunities. Just make sure you're positioned for this big change that we are in the process of going through right now. Drop your comments below, hit the like button, subscribe here, and subscribe to my second channel. It's going to be an interactive call-in show. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be pinned down below, just below the link for the solutionevent.com. And follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok up in the banner. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Drop your comments though. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this? Where do you see this inflation problem going? Do you think we're stepping into a situation in which we could experience, some would say, hyperinflation, real hyperinflation? You look at Weimar Republic. What happened back then? There was one man who made an absolute fortune during this era. What did he do? He was borrowing money and he was just investing it. He was buying land, buying infrastructure. He was investing. And then when everything collapsed, he owned basically everything. There's going to be huge opportunities. Definitely huge opportunities for the smart and savvy investors. Make sure you're positioned for it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you're interested in being sponsored on my YouTube channel, visit cashnow.video/sponsor and fill out the application.